So my aha moment for the week would really be in chapter 10 that we read in Generation Text. Um, I have to disagree with a lot of the things that Dr. Ozit said, specifically about pop culture. Um, he paints it as such a negative thing, and I think he limits pop culture to what it is. When I think of pop culture, I think of a lot of entertainment that can be mass produced and shown to a wide variety of people. So I think that um, pop culture encompasses film and TV and art and photography and literature and more. And I didn't really like how Ozit paints the picture that pop culture is this idea that all it is like reality TV. It's shallow and it preys on millennials, and millennials have created an identity for themselves because of pop culture, and again, it's a negative thing. Um, First off, I want to say that even though maybe it is true, maybe millennials have added pop culture to their sense of identity. I find it hard pressed to say that no generation did that before, because I think about my conversations with friends, and we find similar interests, and we find similar you know things that we like, and a lot of times we do talk about movies and celebrities, and oh, I read this great book, or oh, did you hear this great piece of music? And I don't understand why this is such a bad thing. Again, if you limit pop culture to reality shows and celebrity gossip, I can see why it's shallow. But to say that it has such negative impact, I get that. I get that it can, but I think that Ozit is only focusing on the negative. And I actually think that he took kind of snippet of Margaret's de- kind of reminiscing or detailing about what she likes to watch, and this kind of idea that she can enjoy both the old and the new. Um, there is a She says in here basically that while she can like Nietzsche, she can also watch Access Hollywood or My Super Sweet 16. Um, and I like the question she posed to her last name's Kohler, and she said these interests are all part of my cultural environment, and they should therefore be treated equally, right? Who is to say that one should prefer George Eliot to Missy Elliott? Um, and I think that is, I think she, for me, that's what I'm trying to say is that how can you tell me that because I like to read Us Weekly and that I like to listen to, maybe I like to listen to Panic at the Disco, or I can have all these things that I enjoy and be be cultured. I think since pop culture does have such an influence on people, it needs to be studied more in academic light than rather getting brushed aside and saying, "Oh, it's frivolous." People base their identities too much around it. And I also want to talk about. I disagree that there is this conflict between having to like the old and the new, to have interests that may be dated versus very modern interests. um Again, I just think of myself again as a millennial. I'm an old soul. I really enjoy movies from the 90s, the 80s, 70s, 60s. My favorite movie is Rebel Without a Cause, which is made in the 50s. um, but yet I can still watch movies that are made in 2016 and 17 enjoy those too. I don't think there is a conflict between the two. And I think that millennials have such an advantage now because they don't have to pick between, more traditional, hobbies and postmodern ones. um, there's not 5 channels we have to choose from anymore. um, you can find what makes you happy, you can find what interests you. um, and like I said, you can view both. The greatest thing about millennials in this time period is that you can both be this old soul with a modern twist, so to speak. And I think about pop culture, and the thing that I disagree with is that uh, Ozit implied that current pop culture wants nothing to do with the past, which I think is entirely false. I mean, you look at trends right now. There, a lot of them are, a lot of them have connections to previous generations' trends and fads. And you can see it a lot, like in fashion. You can see it a lot. There's styles that come back. Converse came back. Chokers that were really popular in the '90s came back. Um, Crop tops came back, another '90s, big trend. Um, so to say that millennials, are too focused on the now, they want nothing to do with what happened previously. I don't think that's true. I don't think it adds up because, again, you can see so much of it, and you can see in film they sometimes try to. I think of like a lot of scary movies I watch, and they want more of a gritty effect, and they'll go back to techniques from the '70s. Um, my biggest problem was when I heard when Ozit talked about Margaret's experience. He said, "The struggle Margaret experiences between the old and the new is very apparent. She feels a tug, perhaps even tremendous pressure, that pop culture places on her to remain in today's enticing cultural environment and ignore the offerings of a previous era." Again, don't see that at all. I think pop culture actually highlights what was fun about previous eras. Um, he goes on to say she embraces the best of previous cultural offerings, whereas most Generation X kids don't even notice them because they are too wrapped up in the hottest new whatever or whomever. I don't understand what this is based off of. I don't. And you see influence of the past. I should rephrase. I really don't understand how Ozit can say that when I believe that our current pop culture has this great balance between vintage and modern. Um, and I also don't understand. Vintage is not even a bad term anymore. It's a great term. People look for vintage clothing. People, you know what I mean? People look for vintage styles for movies. Um, I don't think that millennials are so wrapped up in everything that's high tech. Sure, of course they like the newest iPhone and laptops. There's a reason people camp outside for the newest iPhone. But because they do that, they don't care about anything prior, I think is absolutely ridiculous. And as Ozit was saying, there was this tug and this tumultuous pressure. But I'm reading Margaret Kohler's description of what she likes, and there doesn't seem to be any pressure. There's no tug. Um, it is perfectly fine to enjoy Mozart, and then the next hour turn on she was saying turn on The Fabulous Life of Paris Hilton. Sure. Is it educational? No. Those reality TV that she talked about, is it educational? No. Is it mindless? Most definitely. But again, there's the balance. I shouldn't have to only listen to Mozart and only watch black and white films to be considered cultured. Um, Again, I just think, I guess my big sum up here is that millennials more than I think previous generations actually benefit from the freedom of choice that technology allows, because it does produce, I think, a more I think it produces a balance in millennials' lives. Again, I don't think that there is a tug. I don't think that there is a conflict. I think the past and the present can live in harmony, because millennials have the technology and to have the technology to view multiple choices and find what they like and they don't like. And if they're two different things, it's okay, because they can watch two different things. You can watch something on your iPhone, you can watch something on your laptop. You can have the best of both worlds, is my opinion. Um, but that's my aha moment. Thank you.